Good afternoon, everyone. Can we all hear me? Okay, so today's panel is actually DeFi for the people, and we're going to have a focus on, I would say, Microwork. And our question today is, can crypto end poverty in Africa? And I'm joined by my lovely panel here. I have Hetal Patel from Microwork Ventures. Then I also have Roselyne Wanjiru from Utafiti. So I'll just start with a brief background on my panel. I'll start with you, Hetal. Hetal is the head of venture growth for Microwork Ventures and leads the venture platform and contributes to new investments. He has a particular interest in future models in agri-tech and fintech, developing climate solutions by leveraging technology and human-centered design and best practices. And then I'll go over to you, Roselyne. Roselyne is an economist. Well, she's got a very vast profile. So Roselyne is an economist and blockchain strategy consultant. She is the lead on-chain analyst at Utafiti, a digital assets advisory platform that enables investors to leverage financial opportunities in emerging technology platforms. She's also the chief community officer at BitcoinAfrica.io, a leading Bitcoin-focused media publication focused on the African crypto ecosystem. She has served as the director of growth and user acquisitions at PeertoPeer, a premier payments and remittance solutions provider in Africa. She's a keynote speaker and thought leader in Africa's budding blockchain ecosystem, and having spoken in international conferences and media platforms on the need for innovation in the adoption of emerging technologies for economic efficiency and creation of new opportunities for youth in Africa as contributors, not just consumers in the global digital economy. She is passionate about leading initiatives towards appreciating and adopting blockchain technology. And then we have myself, Yaliwe Soko, your moderator today. So I'm the South African Ecosystems Lead at Celo Foundation, and I also chair the United Africa Blockchain Association, and I do have a broad interest in blockchain and crypto education across the continent. So thanks for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to kick off the panel, I'd like you to just give the audience a little bit of background on what you do and how you're involved in the blockchain and tech industry. So Roselyne, I'll start with you.
Thank you so much. So in Utafiti, what we basically do is that we help people understand how to engage with and how to invest in digital currencies. This being on the background of so many scams and a lot of misunderstanding that has definitely not helped the adoption of crypto on the continent. If you were a participant, let's say in 2017-18, chances are you know someone who was scammed, and that's not the perspective that you'd want to put your money and your time into. So fast forward, we help people understand when to invest, how to engage. There's technical analysis, on-chain analysis, and that helps us now create a healthy understanding of what we are dealing with in the first place. So just to slightly preempt the topic that we're going to talk about in just one statement, it's that unless we appreciate the heart of what crypto has to offer, we will not be able to maximize the full value that lies within it.
Thank you so much, and Hetal.
Hi, thanks. So yeah, Microwork Ventures is an early stage impact investor investing from seed to scale. And we have an overarching thesis around financial resilience and climate resilience. And under our financial resilience piece is where our interest in crypto and blockchain lies. Over the last several years, we've started to make more and more crypto investments and blockchain investments, really focusing on real world use cases and being able to have increased access, especially for the under or unbanked. And that is really where our interest lies in this area and where we were partnered on this pilot.
Thank you so much. So on that note, as we all know, it is no secret that sub-Saharan Africa has the youngest and fastest growing population in the world today. And Kenya alone has 68% of the total population is below 35 years, right?
Yeah.
So I know, Hetal, you ran a digital Microwork pilot in partnership with Kotani Pay?
So yes, we had several partners as part of the pilot, and maybe I can take a second to just describe the background.
Okay.
But overall, what we were trying to test is, we were hearing a lot about crypto for good or blockchain for good. But what we wanted to do is really actually start getting into real world use cases. And so we partnered with several people, everyone from Appen, which is an AI basically trainer, to Toka, which is an app for digital microwork. That's a mobile platform on smartphones. Then Cello, Cello was a part of the partnership and really sponsoring it to help test the use cases. Valora was a digital wallet built on Cello. And then Kotani Pay was the USSD that can go from CUSD, which is Cello US dollars, to M-Pesa. And so that's the real technology rails to be able to do digital micro work. And that's what we wanted to test, that utilizing different tools, could we deal with the two main things: instant and quicker payments for these workers, and also the friction and cost of the payments.
Okay, so for those that might be maybe wondering, digital microwork is a form of digital labor that breaks up complex technical projects into thousands of, I would say, fractional tasks. And with the dramatic increase in mobile adoption and internet coverage, microwork has the potential to unlock income opportunities and increase savings potential for and underemployed youth in radical ways. So yet the industry has been slow on the uptick in Kenya, and due in a large part is to the cost and friction of cross-border micropayments, transaction fees that often require microworkers to forfeit a significant portion of their earnings, and in some cases up to 30% of gross earnings. So it actually makes microwork quite uneconomical. So just on that note, Roselyne, I'd like to just hear your views on what you think of digital microwork, maybe compared to just traditional microwork.
All right. For context, in the last 7 years in Kenya, circa around 2011-12, more people began to embrace gig economy through online writing, although that has been quite controversial in terms of assignments, but I won't get into that. But of course, other forms of work, remote work, and basically gig and task. So that is the background that with a lot of young people, especially in universities and even working parents who, of course, want that extra income to support their kids, take them to school, have adopted gig work. Therefore, taking in micro work hasn't been that difficult. It's just that I would say the rate of taking up micro work isn't as fast as gig, because it just takes more people understanding, how are you going to get paid? How do you remit your taxes? Will you get certain provisions like for work benefits, health coverage, and things like that? So in that context, then the people who would embrace micro work as opposed to traditional work is still a lower percentage. However, over time then, with more people understanding that they can make their income reliably, let's say earning weekly, earning daily, then it's more about a cultural shift toward someone taking up micro work first, then looking for, so to speak, the 8 to 5 traditional work setup. Then in the next 4 or 5 years, we'll see micro work taking center stage.
Thank you. And Hetal, from the pilot that you actually ran with Cello Foundation and Mercy Corp, is there some insights that you'd like to share with us? Like, what are some of the insights that you got?
So there are a few top-line insights, and there is a report that I'm sure you'll probably talk about later and that people can link into. But overall, stablecoins did reduce the friction of payments processing. They reduced the cost for a $5 transaction. The lowest cost before this pilot or other pilots was 28%. And then in this pilot, it was 2% on a $5 transaction. So that is a pretty big difference for a worker, a micro worker, who is potentially working $5, $10, $20 a week as a side job, potentially additional income on top of other things. And also, to add to what was just mentioned, there's a gender component, because digital micro work is much more flexible. So at the time and access, there's a piece that women specifically in households or other pieces can tap into this type of work. And so being able to test how to make it more accessible, and it's true, it took different types of technologies to be able to pilot this solution. But maybe that is what we're trying to figure out, right? What are the rails that can work to try to reduce friction and increase access, with the end outcome goal of financial resilience and onboarding the unbanked into wallets, which then can unlock all access to other financial services.
Thank you so much. That's insightful. Just on that note, I know you worked with Kotani Pay, so I think I'd just like to understand the process of onboarding of the micro workers and maybe to the cash out part. So, I mean, how was that process? How did it look like? I don't know. Yes, for you.
Sure. So it's kind of two different questions. So I'll answer them separately in a sense. So the onboarding of the micro workers, and it's very true that there is a trust factor still, and a utilization factor and an access factor that we would have to deal with at the last mile, or to use that term for now. And so we partnered with Nairobits, which is a somewhat of a trusted organization here that has access to youth and be able to do the training piece. There were 4 cohorts. The first 2 cohorts were in person, and then even the 3rd and 4th cohort, we started to test the ability digital training. And being that you can scale digital training easier, right? So the 3rd cohort was via Zooms, and the 4th cohort was YouTube videos. And being able to see that, okay, in certain use cases, what could work in terms of onboarding. And then, of course, because there was a trusted factor with Nairobits, utilizing the wallet, feeling that you're going to get paid and that it's going to work at the end and being able to get it out. She's smiling, but it's true, right?
Yeah,
that you'll be able to actually get it out is the main, it was one of the big things. So
Yeah.
now going to the other piece, Kotani Pay was the bridge between Celo, Valora, which is built on Celo, and the Celo USD stablecoin to M-Pesa in a sense. And being able to utilize USSD and being able to convert from the CUSD to M-Pesa.
Awesome. So, and also I know that Kenya is actually one of the world leaders in peer-to-peer transactions. And looking at that process, it also brings into that aspect of peer-to-peer transactions that we've been talking about. So maybe starting with you, Roselyne, what are your thoughts on peer-to-peer transactions? And maybe let's look at it from the user end.
All right. Just as he said, I was smiling. I'm smiling because one thing about Kenyan culture is that someone will only put in attention to something if they know it's going to work for them or if they are going to get paid for that matter. So one of the rails in crypto in, let's say, 2018, 2016, for those who are there early to the game, cashing out was quite difficult. And, there was all this hubris around, will the banks ban your fund? Will you be able to cash out if you have some of your funds in bank? And all these obstacles were there. And to date, some of them are still present, right? But what peer-to-peer has done is just take away that fear for people to be able to get their funds, be it from being able to trade crypto or now in the case of Microwork. So, in the current context, it's that peer-to-peer is such a quote-unquote darling of culture that I know I will get what I want when I need it and to the exact amount, not more, not less. So that it serves especially to build those rails of trust, because without this, then it really won't work.
Thank you. And Felix, thanks for joining us. So before I get to you, I don't know, Hetal, if you had any contribution to the peer-to-peer?
Just to add on to that, there's a whole other potential of remittances, which is in a sense peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
And that's, I think the numbers are around $200 million potential impact on the Kenyan economy.
Yeah.
So reducing cost, this pilot finally looked at a certain Microwork payment, but in the end we're looking at cross-border transactions and potential to really increase savings for peer-to-peer, which can include remittances. Actually,
sorry, just to add into that, one of the biggest headaches in terms of remittances, and not even on M-Pesa alone, but just different cross-border transactions. If we look at transaction bans on, let's say, $0 to $50, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, 300 and above, anything above $100 is fairly reasonable. Under $100, it's literally a headache, because sometimes if you look at your transaction statements and what you've spent on transaction costs alone, it's the equivalent of a full other transaction. So as he said, 28% on paper looks not too high, but on the ground for someone else, it's that they've missed an opportunity to buy something else. It could mean a packet of milk for someone else. And this is when we take it to the ground. If we don't just look at the numbers, but the opportunity cost for other people, then we'll get to understand why it's so vital to have these transaction charges lowered to that 2% and even 1% should it head there with all these technologies working out as we envision them.
Thanks, Roselyne. And we've just been joined by Felix Macharia. And I don't know if you have anything to say regarding the peer-to-peer piece, but maybe I'll just do an introduction to the audience, just give them a brief on your profile. So Felix Macharia is the CEO and co-founder at Kotani Pay, a blockchain on and off-ramp service that offers access to blockchain financial services to SMS phone users in Africa. Felix has worked in a variety of roles in the African blockchain space since 2016, including the African Digital Asset Framework and EOS Nairobi. So Felix, just a little bit of background on Kotani Pay and what you guys do in the blockchain space.
Yeah, thank you, Yaliwe. So we mainly concentrate on people who are locked out of blockchain technologies altogether. Simply because they don't have access to the internet or they don't have smartphones, right? And you know, looking at it, we are talking about 57% of the African population, which is still using our first generation phones. And even if you're looking at smartphones, a lot of people cannot afford the cost of internet in their countries. I think tech is very centralized in Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria. If you're talking about the rest of Africa, they're essentially locked out of this technology altogether. So we looked at this problem and we were thinking, how can we onboard all these people onto the blockchain? And it was very clear to us that two technologies stand out. You have USSD and SMS on the interface side, which is how most people interact with mobile services today. And then you have mobile money on the other, which is how people store money, send money, and so on. And so through feats of nature, we were able to connect the blockchain to these two technologies so that it's possible for me as a user to create a blockchain account from a USSD SMS interface. And when I come to the point of cashing out, I can easily cash out to my mobile money account, whether that's M-Pesa in Kenya, Airtel Money in Uganda, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. Actually, I think when I came across Kotani Pay, I was very excited because I thought about it. I'd been thinking about it for a long time to say, the moment my grandmother, for example, in the village would be able to receive crypto using USSD, that would be a highlight for a lot of Africans. So I think you did an amazing job on that one. So we're just going back to the Microwork pilot. We've actually touched on the Microwork pilot. I'd like to know what Kotani Pay's involvement was in the process. I know Hetal was actually given a little bit of background, but just maybe from your, or in your own words.
Yeah, and thank you, Hetal. I'm sure it was comprehensive.
No.
So our role was mainly, as I said, to connect users who were not familiar with the blockchain, right? So we were brought into the pilot to solve a not so easy problem, which is how do users who are not familiar with blockchain or blockchain assets, how can they interact with these technologies in a way that is easy and natural to them, right? And we had a bit of this experience when we were doing universal basic income pilots in Kakuma camp, where you're basically dealing with refugees. So by connecting USSD, SMS, and mobile money to the blockchain, we made this experience very intuitive. So that as a gig worker, I could receive CUSD on my Valora wallet and then choose to withdraw cash, and that will redirect me to a USSD interface where I didn't have to pay for internet costs, and I was very familiar with that particular USSD interface. So I could choose to send money, I could choose to cash out, and when I choose to cash out, it takes me to my mobile money account. So our main motto, our main principle is follow the end user, and by following the end user, you're able to make these experiences more intuitive.
Thank you. So you've just mentioned CUSD, and CUSD is a stable coin. So how do stablecoins play a role, or how did CUSD play a role in the pilot itself, but also maybe in general? So maybe, Hetal, I don't know if you've got anything to say about how stablecoins play a role, or maybe I'll just hand it over to Roselyne or Felix.
Thank you. Well, for stablecoins, the fact is that we're operating in a context where inflation and currency devaluation is a very real problem, and not just in Kenya, but really across the African continent for different reasons, be it geopolitical or just trade, not to mention even this being on the back of COVID. So if I know that I have this, I'm going to get, let's say $5, $10, or $30 for the work that I've done, and it's not going to be affected by, the currency valuation issues. then let me have that. It's a simple win, just as Felix has said, that it's about the end user.
Yeah.
And not really selling the tech to them because of the tech's sake, but the fact that they can get the value for money that they want at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. I don't know if any of the other panelists would like to contribute or,
Yeah.
Felix.
Yeah, so the unique thing about the technology we're using, in this case, the Silo blockchain, was that they have very unique features in the sense that they have taken the best of what we have developed so far as the blockchain space. For one, they have a blockchain network that is built on proof of stake, which makes it very easy in terms of network fees. So if you're comparing the fees on the Silo blockchain to other ways of transferring money, for a $5 transaction, you're looking at $3.33 for TransferWise. You're looking at $1.44 for PayPal, and you're looking at 10 cents for Silo, right? So like the cost makes total sense. And then they were able to bake in a stable coin into the protocol so that it's easy, very easy for an end user to send money across, and it's not fluctuating. It's not fluctuating the way Bitcoin will be. And then finally, they also made it such that you can connect it to a mobile phone number. Mm-hmm. Your mobile phone number is what is actually used for encryption, as opposed to other cases where an end user has to cram public keys and write down private keys and so on. And so by taking these three features and then using them in this pilot, we're able to dramatically reduce the cost of sending very small transactions. Microwork is about breaking work into fractional tasks that can be $3, $5, $10 transactions, and you want to ensure that the end user gets as much value as possible. You're looking at about 7% of the total value globally going, in remittance, going to fees, and in Africa it can tend to be higher, it can tend to be around 15%. So we're able to reduce that dramatically, to about 2-3% in the case of this pilot.
Thank you so much. So now, looking at Microwork, I know we've mentioned it quite a lot on this panel. So what does the future look like? We're looking at what are some of the opportunities and also maybe some of the challenges. And this is a question to all the panelists. So we can start with, I don't know, Roselyne. What does it look like? And
all right. Allow me to go, say, 5-10 years forward in time. One scenario I would definitely love to see is someone who is in just, let's say, at the tail end of high school or in campus, being able to make enough to even pay for part of their college fees, because I know one of the headaches that a lot of students tend to have is you're getting student debt to go to school, and then you want to look for a job, which will take quite some time to get before you start paying your student debt. So you already set back a couple of years just by the fact that you have student debt. Not that it's bad to have, definitely healthy, because with that education, you're looking at the opportunities to unlock. But with Microwork in this scenario, it's that as I go for my classes, as I finish my assignment, I'm able to do Microwork here and there. If I earn my $3, my $5, and it keeps on accumulating, of course, and at the end of the day, I'm even able to make $100 a week, $200 here and there. This is literally the future, so that we don't have so many youth burdened by tarmacking, as we call it in Kenya. Tarmacking just basically means that you're looking for so many work opportunities and you end up for almost a year without any employer even giving you feedback. So with Microwork in this picture, it's that this campus population, since they're of course of age and legally responsible, they can get into the Microwork space, be able to pay for part of their, their learning and upkeep, so that we reduce that unemployment burden that's, quite a heavy headache for so many people. Yeah.
thank you so much. And over to you, Hetal.
Yes, I mean, just to add a bit on to what Roselyne said, I think even beyond Microwork, because it's true, like there's an income opportunity, but there's also a financial inclusion opportunity when we start testing use cases like this, right? We're talking wallets, we're talking savings, we're talking potentially credit, insurance. So I think this is the rails are a piece of a solution towards actually outcome solutions, which is around the financial inclusion products. So that's how we think of it in terms of, even when we thought about, let's do this pilot, it's find the partners who are doing the technology, who are understanding the ground, and then let's see what the solutions could be, and hopefully others can leverage some of these learnings to whatever types of solutions they're looking for, even beyond Microwork, because in the end, we are looking at transaction rails and cost.
And we have seen, a growth of use cases beyond, the Microwork pilot or the universal basic income pilot. We are now seeing lending use cases where businesses are able to tap into blockchain liquidity simply because it's cheaper and faster now with some of the technologies that are being developed, the likes of Kotani Pay. So I think the field is still green. It's a blue ocean. There's still so many things we can do with this technology on the continent in terms of finance.
Thank you so much. So I believe we do have a bit more time for questions and answers. Okay. So before we go over to the questions and answers, I know maybe that there must be some people in the crowd or in the audience that are looking at maybe finding out more about what we're doing. What is it that we can look forward to? What next? I think with Mercy Corp, Kotani Pay, Utafiti, what next? What can people look forward to?
So for me, the exciting bits are what we can do with lending and savings. That's what I'm seeing more of. So we know that there is this absolute explosion of loaning apps and lending apps, for example, in Kenya, simply because there are a lot more small and medium enterprises now than there were 5 years ago. A lot more people are entrepreneurial, and they need this finance to smooth consumption. For me, when I look at the blockchain ecosystem, it's just a money ecosystem like any other. It's just that this money is programmable, it's digital, it rests in the internet and so on. So for us, it's a question of how do we connect all these businesses to the blockchain. And we have seen these use cases, for example, in the case of one very notable company in Kenya called Pesesha that has created a lending marketplace, and they have been able to tap into blockchain liquidity to provide loans to businesses here in Kenya. We are also seeing a lot of savings and investment as well, like being worked on. If as an individual, I can be connected to the global economy, because I believe for a very long time, Africa has been locked out of, the global economy. And so this is an opportunity for us to actually participate in better savings and investment opportunities abroad. And then there's also the whole aspect of income, which is, the gig work pilot is a start, but there are also other sources of income. And if I can get paid, from Silicon Valley or any other place via the blockchain, and I retain most of the value, then I think it's much better for the African continent than not.
Thank you so much. I don't know, Roselyne, do you have anything to contribute?
Definitely. The future is positive. We're looking at income, investments, and a critical component definitely is in the lending space, because the fact is that we have seen people being able to create a lot of value from the crypto space. For perspective, it was recorded that in between 2020 and 2021, there was about at least between 200 million and close to $1 billion in trades for crypto, and you'd expect that it would be in the negative, but it was in the positive. In Kenya in particular, there are about 4 million crypto holders, and this could be people who are either just holding a crypto wallet. Of course, people can hold multiple crypto wallets, and statistics on exchanges tend to show that there's at least between 90,000 and 200,000 traders active every day or every week. This in comparison to people who are actively holding traditional investment accounts, that is with the capital market or stock exchange, came to about 60,000, which was a bit of a shocking statistic that was recently compared. And you're wondering, okay, aren't people investing enough in stocks, or is it that they don't know enough about it? But if you realize that the push for 2020 was that a lot of people did lose their primary income, and if they had savings and they knew that they could get just some extra resources in crypto by it appreciating, and them not even doing any work, but crypto appreciating as it did in that bull run, It's that it was not that hard for people to get in, knowing that within a year they could get what they couldn't get in the stock market in a 5-year period. Now, this in the landscape of investments means that there definitely has to be more education for people to understand even how to diversify their investments, because, well, I can't tell everybody, you know, put your all into crypto. Well, it's not investment advice, right? But the fact is that there's an opportunity. If you know how to spread your resources in terms of investment between stocks and crypto, then, you know, you're a balanced investor. And at the end of the day, you win, and not only you, but your family and your community win. So, as I said, the future is positive, and we are literally at the forefront of it, writing it.
Thank you so much, Roselyne. And Hetal, what next? What should we look forward to?
I think both of them, everything both of them are looking forward to, but also I think for us, because the focus is around increasing resilience and access, we are really excited about more use cases and being able to prove out or show that what different solutions or different technology pieces can work together. And then hopefully that motivates, gets momentum around whatever last mile aggregation we need to do in terms of training and onboarding, and really getting momentum around really changing the percentage of underbanked. And then that will lead to savings, credit, invest tech, and all these other solutions. And it's true, we can find invest tech for even the less educated, less sophisticated investor to de-risk it on the portfolio level, right?
Yeah.
But we have to get them in, be able to have them trust that the savings are there, and to onboard and offboard as needed. And I think those have been barriers so far, and so that's where the excitement comes in, is that hopefully in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 years, we really be able to start having greater scale around those solutions.
Thank you so much for that. So there we heard it from our panel, and we're just going to open up, for, I think, a few minutes for questions and answers. So I don't know if there's anyone who has a pressing question, or if there are quite a few people with questions in the audience. Our panel is here to answer our questions.
All right. Thank you for a very enlightening panel. I had a question regarding, strategies that can be adopted by teams that are looking to add crypto to their work stream. So we've seen companies adopting fintech strategies to their products. Healthcare apps can now embed insurance, payments, and credit. Some fintech bundling is also coming up to provide more for users. We are now seeing that crypto is able to create efficiencies, reduce cost, and ultimately provide all these additional saving. Are we able to share ideas on what can be done for users with this saving in terms of crypto? What can we bundle together for users that comes from the crypto space?
Okay, who would love to take that?
Start?
Okay, cool. What can we bundle for users? I think the first rail is for people to just see that they can see their money there, because I think one of the mental blocks and barriers has been that people fear their money will disappear in crypto because of the volatility. So selling the fact that there's stability, there's trust, there's these frameworks, then that's the first winning point. Second winning point, I think, just as I'd pick up from where Felix has highlighted, is the issue of credit, that we need to break it down and make it a win for them. Like, if I subscribe on this platform, be it Kotani Pay or the different apps in the ecosystem, how soon can I get credit, and how soon can I cash out this process, and what are the repayment mechanisms? It needs to be a win, because it's hard to say, in Kenyan culture, the reputation that's been set out by digital lenders is not the best in terms of credit. So that definitely has to be overcome in the crypto space.
Yeah, I would agree, and I'd say that my hypothesis that the challenges aren't around tech or designing the invest tech background portfolio. It's the trust and increasing savings behavior for the large segment that is still not there yet. And so using the technology to make that happen, then we can figure out and get experts from anywhere to figure out how to create the right risk structures for different types of consumers. But getting them into the system, I think, is where the excitement is and where I think the next steps are really.
And even actually considering SACCOs, SACCOs tend to be a good form of social trust where people can save together. And what you have either with a merry-go-round, like a few friends put in, say, $10 a month or $10 every week, or whichever amount that they choose to agree upon, you've already solved the aspect of trust there, because these are people who know each other and this money will be remitted to them at a specific point in time. So by leveraging even the existing structure and trust that SACCOs have, then that's a great area of partnership between crypto startups and SMEs.
Yeah, and whatever bundle you put, for the end user, I think by the end of the day, you must follow the user. You must meet users at their point of need. What interfaces do they use to interact with mobile technologies now? What technologies are they very comfortable with? I think the challenge with most blockchains is they're very complicated for any particular user, whether you're talking about lending, savings, and so on, and we have to simplify that for the African user. I think there are a couple of blockchain protocols that are doing this quite well, whether it's Stellar or Silo or Cardano, and the focus should be on as much as I'm bundling services, savings, lending, and so on, can I make it simple for the African user to interact with these technologies on a daily basis?
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. It looks like we've come to the end of our panel. And just before I let you go, just any last remarks for our audience?
All right. I know the title of the panel was that will crypto end poverty in Africa? Yeah. It's a big goal, but I think we are a step in the right direction simply because we literally have a gift of history in our generation. And why do I call it a gift of history? That for the first time, there are so many barriers that are coming down before our eyes, we don't even realize just how fast this is happening between us. So the call to action I'd say is, open your eyes, look at what opportunities are at hand. If it's partnering that you will partner. If it's educating that you'll educate. But don't sit on crypto and in terms of what it has to offer. When you clear away the murky waters of either political correctness or uncertainty and complexity of the terms, see with the lens of opportunity so that we'll be able to maximize what this gift of history has to offer to us.
Thank you so much. I think, Felix?
Yeah, mine is, just to remind all of us that crypto is just an enabling technology, just like any other technology that has been there before. And so when we build, let's build for our consumer, let's build for our customer. And in that way, crypto becomes more embedded into the culture. I think that was the winning point for mobile money, because they looked at the culture and they were like, we are going to design the technology around the culture. And so if we actually design crypto applications around Africa's culture and some of the needs on the continent, I think we have a very bright future as an industry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they both said it very well in the sense that it's a technology. What is going to be built with that is really up to the ecosystem, the people, the partners, and that includes a variety of different stakeholders and bringing them along and helping them understand what it's about, what solutions can also be good for them and what they want to build. Going back to mobile money or others, I'm sure we had resistance back in the day on mobile money also. So I think it's about educating, building a coalition, and then building products for the consumer and meeting them where they are versus the consumer having to go meet the technology that was built in other ways or for other products. So to me, it's really there.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. And to the audience, thank you for listening.
Thank you.